Good morning. Welcome to the Flying Bridge for the 2023 Veterans Day complimentary tribute breakfast. I hope you came hungry. I can hear from the hardware. I know it's not breakfast in bed, but it is the Flying Bridge. And for many of us, it's like being at home. I didn't script an applause at that point, but you're paying attention. Thank you. So our program of invited speakers will start shortly. If you're still eating, please continue. I'm told we have a full house. We're at capacity. And that's what I was hoping for. I've never had a full house. That's why I don't gamble. First and second floors are hooked up for sound and video. I use the script because I don't have to remember things. Radio personality Ed Lambert and his crew from 95 WTIX, WXTK are at the front door interviewing veterans once again. Thanks, Ed, and please spread the love. Falmouth Community Television, working with Carlson Audiovisual, are providing coverage for the later scheduled broadcasting. Thank you, Dave. Ryan Weber and Gunnar Knat are also contributing to that cause. Before our program gets underway, I'd like to test the speaker system. So we're on the second floor, and you mentioned you could hear me at the back of the room, right, at the bar? Okay, that's good. So if you are sitting at the bar, it's 9 a.m., you can take that off your bucket list. Can you hear me downstairs? They can. I got a heads up on that as well. Okay. So what are the chances that all 6 branches of our military are represented here today? With pride in your voice, let me hear you loud and clear when I call out your branch of service. Air Force. Yay! Quiet down, quiet down. Army. Yay! The dogs, I love it. Coast Guard. Yay! The Marine Corps. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to our Marine Corps. This is the 248th birthday. So they're going to say we did this for them, right? You know, it's a present. Let's see, Navy. And of course, the Space Force. Now look, I really did check. I checked. I found 3 so far. So we got to give them to them as well. Those of us present share a common attribute. We served our country with honor. Look around you. You're in good company. And by the way, speaking of good company, we have a new organization. It's the Jewish War Veterans, headed locally by Army Lieutenant Colonel, retired Lieutenant Colonel Gary Gordon. Gary, where are you? Thank you for joining us. So I want to take a few minutes to get settled and comfortable. Now's a good time for that coffee refill or refreshing glass of water. Flag down a Cape Cod 5 red shirt. They're here again to proudly serve you. Bathrooms are located near the bars on both floors. If you embarrass easily, now is a smart time to mute or turn off your telephone for the next hour. I'll remind you to turn them back on as we depart and part company. If a seat near you is open, please invite someone to fill it. If you do, you can probably add a new friend to your list of accomplishments this year. So our program will start shortly. Until then, continue to enjoy your breakfast and the company of other veterans. We'll take a few minutes, and about 5, and then we'll start up again. Thank you. Please stand if you can. The Cape Cod 5 Red Shirt Friday volunteers will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Jay Zavala, Falmouth resident and Vietnam-era veteran. I'm privileged to MC this event. Veterans, spouses, veteran caregivers, invited dignitaries, event participants, restaurant staff, and volunteers, thank you for joining us for the 2023 annual Veterans Day Complimentary Tribute Breakfast hosted by Mark Bogosian, Sam and Judy LaRusso, and the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, Michael Kasparian, President. We come together once again to thank our military veterans for their honorable service to the United States of America, our country. Their bravery, sacrifice, and strength have not gone unnoticed, and we will always be indebted to you and your families for all that you have given to this nation. This is our 9th breakfast gathering. It's wonderful to see so many old, familiar faces. How was breakfast? It was great. Tyler Hayes and his staff will be pleased. Not exactly an MRE, right? MRE. Were you guys in the same military I was in? As the Falmouth Chorale Chamber Singers assemble in front of the lectern, please make note of the following. And I've been reminded of this a number of times. Today is not Veterans Day. However, today, most local and federal government offices are closed in observance of Veterans Day. So after breakfast, we can all go home and take a nap. I've been asked by the town's Director of Veteran Services, Don Lincoln, to remind you that tomorrow, Saturday, November 11th, is Veterans Day. And the town of Falmouth will commemorate the day on Main Street at the Main Street Library lawn at 11 a.m. sharp. We should all be rested by then and present. Okay, we've had a moment to rest. Please stand again if you can. The Falmouth Chorale Chamber Singers, under the direction of Margaret Bossy, have assembled and will now perform the national anthem. And after the national anthem, please have a seat.
Skies, or amber waves of gray, for purple mountains' majesty above the stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red flame, the bumpers singing air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please have a seat. And no more standing. Wasn't that wonderful? Yeah. Yeah. Now, they should have a program on television where they give awards for this kind of music. That was wonderful. By the way, the Falmouth Chorale with the chamber orchestra will perform For Unto Us a Child is Born, Handel's Messiah, Saturday, December 9th, 4 p.m., and again Sunday, December 10th, 3 p.m. at John Wesley United Methodist Church. I can attest, seating is comfortable and the acoustics are great, so purchase your tickets now. Thank you. I have proudly invited Nell Fields to offer a non-denominational invocation. Nell is this year's Falmouth Outstanding Citizen of the Year. I can pick her, I really can. She grew up in a military family, and she's currently pastor of the Wacoit Congregational Church. Please remain seated. Reverend Fields. Well.
Before we pray, I want to say I am so grateful to be the Citizen of the Year. It's an honor, it's something I'm proud of, but perhaps I'm more proud of the fact that I grew up in the military. My father was a career Army Medical Service Corps executive, and it's so wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you for your service and your continued service. Let us pray. God of many names, you saw this day coming. You saw this day when we would gather, break bread, and remember. A day when we would remember with gratitude the women and men who have served our country in times of conflict and in times of peace. And so we thank you, O God, for this gathering. We thank you for our veterans, those here this morning and those of generations past. We are grateful for their courage and selflessness. We are grateful for their sacrifice. We are grateful that they answered the call to pick up the mantle and serve. May we never forget those who have served in defense of our country. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being by our own right conduct and by the kindness we show to one another. May we lead the world by example and become, in the words of the prophet, a light to the nations. Then will the labors and sacrifices of all veterans will be honored, not in words alone, but by deeds. Bless this ceremony today and all who participate as actors or as observers. We ask in the name of all that is holy. Amen.
Thank you, Nell. Okay, where were we? I was glad to see that Nell used notes. That justifies my doing so. Thank you. Let's see, where am I? My plug for the Wacoit Congregational Church. Sunday worship at the Wacoit Congregational Church, corner of 15 Parsons Lane on Route 28, is at 10 a.m. Now you have no excuse. Before we go any further, allow me to introduce our invited dignitaries. They accepted my invitation to meet, eat, mingle, and listen to their veteran constituents. I'll ask them to stand and wave for a moment when introduced so you can mark their location. Congressman Bill Keating. State Senator Susan Moran. State Representative David Vieira. State Representative Dylan Fernandez. Barnstable County Sheriff Donna Buckley sends her sincere regards and justified regrets. Falmouth Select Persons Nancy Taylor. Anjali Scott Price. Doug Brown. Robert Muskelly. And Scott Zielinski. Falmouth Town Manager Mike Renshaw. And I want to thank the Chief of Police for our detail this morning. Thank you all for being here. Did I make the clear distinction about Veterans Day being tomorrow? Good, good. It was important. I had to make my notes more than once. So I've been asked many times to make it clear what the distinction is between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. But to save my voice, I've asked Michael Kasparian, president of the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, to honor that request and to also speak about the missing man table in the room. Michael?
Thank you, Jay, for continuing to put on this amazing event. And thank you all for your service. Like Jay, my comments are committed to paper, so I won't make any mistakes. But we set Memorial Day aside to remember and memorialize military personnel who died in the service to our country, particularly those who died in war or as a result of wounds sustained in battle. Whereas we set Veterans Day aside to celebrate, thank, and honor all men and women who served honorably in the military, in wartime, or while preserving peace. In fact, today, and for longer than 100 years, Veterans Day invites us to express our continued appreciation to surviving veterans for their service, their sacrifice, and their contribution to our national security. And that, my friends, is why we are gathered here today, to simply say thank you. The missing man table, which is located at the back of the room, out of courtesy for your time, we have placed a 3-page reading of the missing man table on the table itself for individual reading. The table is in a prominent location, as I just pointed out, and would appreciate it if you would take a moment to go by and pick up that paper. Thank you again for your service.
You know, Michael is an outstanding extemporaneous speaker. So I know he struggled with my printed page. The page that we have on the missing man's table was 3 pages long. I condensed it into one. So don't pick it up. Leave it there for others to read as well. Thank you. Now for our guest speakers. Carissa April is a retired Coast Guard commander. Carissa is here as president of the Joe Q Veteran Coffee Break, the local nonprofit currently renovating the town's former senior center on Dillingham Avenue, where she and others will open and operate the FCVC. FCVC. That's the Falmouth Community Veteran Center. Some of her other civic activities include chair of the town's Veteran Council, and she is a town meeting member. I also know she makes a hell of a batch of cookies. Before we hand the mic to Carissa, and to her surprise, the leadership of Bands for Badges, a local nonprofit serving first responders and their families, Tim Smith, Boyd DeMello, and Brandon McCrae are here to quickly present a donation check to Carissa for the FCVC. Guys, you want to come? Boyd, you want to come up? Carissa?
Always a photo op. Good morning. I, unlike my distinguished polished speakers before me, have nothing written down, so this will be off the cuff. My name is Boyd DeMello. I'm Vice President for Bands for Badges Incorporated. We're a local nonprofit. With me is Brandon McCrae, our treasurer, and in the back of the room, he'll raise his hand and wave to you, is Tim Smith, who is currently recently had a small knee operation and is less mobile than Brandon and I, although not by much. Bands for Badges, like I said, is a local nonprofit. We raise money for first responders, police, firefighters, and military personnel here in the Cape in a time of need when they need it. And we do that through hosting a music festival at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds each year, where we have several bands in and have some corporate sponsors and guests, and we have some really good music. And all the profits from that music festival go back to the community, like we are today, in a donation to the Joe Q Coffee Break, to provide assistance back to the community. We couldn't do that music festival without our major corporate sponsors, which includes Black Dog and the Cape Cod 5, who's here today hosting this event, and we thank you for that. So on behalf of Bands for Badges, we'd like to present a check to Joe Q Coffee Break to help fund the new Veterans Center in the amount of $500.
Big check up there, and then I have the actual check in my pocket.
It's a dry erase. We could probably add a zero. And
Thank you very much, Sheldon. Thank you. Carissa, the microphone is yours.
well, that's exciting. Thank you so much. That's a nice way to start the morning. And good morning. Happy Veterans Day. Tomorrow. I know many of you here last year, and you heard me say about the Falmouth Community Veterans Center. We have a lot of work to do, and we hope to be open this spring. Well, Jay asked us to come back and give an update this year, so I'm here to say we have a lot of work to do, and we plan to be open this spring. A year has gone by. This time last year, we were very eager to open the doors on a space for veterans and their families. And we had just about resigned ourselves at that point to the few improvements that we had already made, like the new roof to replace the old leaking one, and a few more we thought we could make, like new windows to replace the broken, leaking, single pane originals that were there, and a fresh coat of paint. We had much bigger aspirations than that, but it seemed like it was just going to take so long to get there with the model that we were following, which was to do that with donations and volunteer work. And then over the winter, things started to happen, proving once again that this is an amazing, incredible community. It's going to be worth the wait to see this happen. And since we were here last year, so in the last 12 months since I stood here to tell you about it, we have all new windows in the entire building, thanks to Sam and Judy LaRusso's generous donation. We have some interior demolition done, a lot of interior demolition. We have new walls framed and drywalled. We have new glass interior walls and doors, sort of storefront style glass doors opening up the space. We have exterior doors have been replaced. We have new LED lighting recessed into the ceiling to replace those old buzzing fluorescent lights that we all remember from older buildings. Over the next few months, we have so many huge projects lined up that, and almost all of it has been donated and agreed to be donated and volunteered. We have new restrooms coming, a whole new layout, new fixtures, and trust me when I tell you, it wasn't good in there. And we want to leave like the museum installation buildings for the museums in town. And we didn't need to keep any museum quality restroom facilities from the, I don't know, 60s or something. We didn't need that there. So that's coming, and that's huge. What we really want to deliver, what we really want to bring within reason and within, as much cost as we can control, we still want to deliver a 21st century facility. We want to feel like we can start here and grow and make it better as we move forward. There's new flooring lined up to be installed, brand new flooring, the whole building, fresh, luxury vinyl tile like you see in buildings today. Nice, not linoleum 12-inch squares, which is fine if that's what you have, but we can do better. So new flooring, fresh paint throughout the entire building, and another exciting project that we're about to kick off is installing solar panels on the building. And so we are, as we do this project for the town, for the veterans and their families in the town, we also are hoping to help the town meet its decarbonization goals. And so if you know the building on Dillingham Avenue, it has a great roof and it's facing the sun all day. And so it's a really great opportunity to collect energy and use it to run the building. Hopefully in the future to run the heating and cooling, that's the goal, and of course the electrical needs on the building so that we are generating our own power to operate the building. So I want to make sure you leave here today knowing that this incredible town asset, the first Veterans Center for Falmouth, created for all veterans and their families, is being brought to you by your neighbors here in town. I'm going to read a list, and whenever we read lists, we always worry that we're going to leave somebody out, but I'm going to read this list, and you'll know these people. Keenan and Kenny Architects, Fraser Construction, Mike Duffany, Kentry Development, Fronius Electric, Fender Electric, Hamilton Electric, Seabolt Electric, MJR and Sons Plastering, National Lumber, Falmouth Lumber, Concord Electric, John Moore Plumbing, Snow and Jones, Mannington Floors, Carpet Barn, Benjamin Moore Paints, the corporate offices, Valley Group, Salt Landscape Design, and Cavosa Disposal. All of these professionals have outright donated their time, labor, and materials for the Falmouth Community Veterans Center. I think that's one of those applause breaks. So many groups of volunteers and monetary donations, bagels, lunch, and coffee donations for the work crews. We used a state of Massachusetts $30,000 grant earlier this year for the interior glass walls and exterior doors I was telling you about. And we just got a state grant, from the state of Massachusetts, Senator Moran's office, $90,000 for this solar panel installation. And we're going to use every last penny of it. We're going to use that. We're in the middle of contracting that right now, so it's going to happen hopefully pretty quickly. The other thing I want you to know when you leave today is that Joe Q Veteran Coffee Break is an all-volunteer organization. Most of our board and advisory council members have full-time jobs, and we really do this in our free time, if there is such a thing. And those of you, like everybody in this room that knows, when you're volunteering, your free time is really or not. It's volunteering time. Our goal for this project has been to renovate the facility, relying as much as possible on donated materials and labor so that we can use our fundraising dollars to bring programs to the Veterans Center. We've already been hosting the Vet Center from Hyannis and Mass Hire. These are both organizations who are meeting with veterans regularly, but in Hyannis, where they have a place to do that. And by coming to Falmouth, they cut that transportation need for Falmouth area veterans. We've already been at the facility doing that. And it'll be so much nicer when it's fully open and a nicer space to meet in. Soon, we're going to be a Guitars for Vets location, a Falmouth chapter of an incredible national program you've probably heard of. And then there's a dog training service for veterans that's operating off Cape, tying service dogs to veterans, and they're just waiting for us to be ready to bring that program to Falmouth as well. Looking ahead, we're still going to need an HVAC system. We know now that we'll have solar, so we're in a better place to make a decision about how to do heating and cooling. There's no air conditioning in the building yet. And now that we have solar, that kind of helps us answer those questions. We are working on heat pumps because of that. And then eventually we'll renovate our museum kitchen. We don't really, again, on the museum, we don't need a museum there, we need a kitchen. And then we'll outfit the education and technology room with audiovisual equipment and computers. But those improvements, we think, are sort of the next phase, and it's not going to keep us from opening. And our goal is to do that by Memorial Day of 2024. So in just a few months, we're going to crank out all those projects that I just said with all of your help. And we hope to cut a ribbon sometime before Memorial Day. So I hope this update has gotten you really excited about the Falmouth Community Veterans Center, that some very, very generous contractors, suppliers, professionals, and volunteers are creating for this town. We appreciate your support. We think it's going to be really, really worth the wait, and we can't wait to have you in for a cup of coffee in 2024. We have a one-page kind of information flyer on the back table with some of the renderings from the architects from Keenan and Kenny about what it'll look like when we're done. And if you want to be in touch, that's the best way to reach us, through those. Thanks so much for the time at the podium. Happy Veterans Day.
Are we going to have some of your cookies there?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So that's a worthy cause. Oh, it's time for Bill Keating. Bill.
I like that introduction.
Don't you love that?
Jay, that was the best introduction I've had in a long time. So I appreciate that. And it's great to see the extended organizations here, the nonprofits, the people volunteering, the people that are the official sponsors here, Falmouth Chamber, and Michael, thank you for your leadership there. Sam and Judy LaRusso, who have been so much a part of this for so long, dating back to discussions with Bill Zammer, where this has become such a tradition and such a welcoming point, and Mark Bogosian, as well as everyone that contributes so much. It's great to see the extended organizations. Now we have a Jewish War Veterans chapter here. My father was an honorary Jewish War veteran. He was a veterans agent for years, and they gave him that honor. He was only honorary for two reasons. One, he wasn't Jewish. The other, he didn't want a formal introduction with the mohel that might come with that as well. So he was very happy to be an honorary member as well. I think I speak for the sentiment of every veteran in this room when we remember Veterans Day and all the contributions. Always keep in mind the active service members that are all around the globe currently serving, the people that will become veterans and that are there. And the world right now is on fire. And America's role in that world, I can tell you as a member of the Armed Services Committee, as in the Foreign Affairs Committee, senior member of both of those committees, we have never been asked to do more to preserve democracy than right now. And the U.S. is up to the task, but it is so necessary. I can tell you from country to country to country, with this fragile democracies all being threatened, they look to one country as the beacon to hold this all together and to make sure all those years, all those sacrifices, family sacrifices that veterans have made, all the families that lost loved ones, that is not in vain. And it's being tested around the world right now. And those active service members are doing an extraordinary job. Not long ago, I was in Poland, among others with the 82nd Airborne. They are right there. They are helping in Ukraine, doing training, making sure logistics, making sure things get in there. Thousands and thousands of service people, making sure that happens, because that is the front line right now. And they know themselves that if Putin has his way and Ukraine falls, he's made clear, literally, that countries in NATO are next. And if that's the case with our Article 5 commitment, our troops will be on the front lines themselves. So we're doing everything there. In the Indo-Pacific, with the threats of China that have never been greater, we're working together on the diplomatic front. We've put an alliance with South Korea together, with Japan, something people never thought would be there. Extended the Philippines, and service members there are ready to help and be there. And in the Middle East, with all the turmoil that's going, the threats of Iran, and just in the last couple of weeks, 45 of those service members were injured. Fortunately, not serious injuries, but just another reminder that they are actively representing us now, risking their lives as we speak here at home. So remember them in our prayers, because they're doing extraordinary work. And when they're coming back, we'll welcome them home for their service as veterans as well. You know, it's a day we say thank you very briefly. So thank you to every veteran here. It means a great deal. And my family, my dad was 3 decades as a veterans agent, and coming from a Gold Star family ourselves, and making sure that we do more than thank you. And the good news with Congress, there's not a lot of good news in Congress these days, you might have noticed. But the good news is, over the last Congress and beginnings of this, we are doing more for veterans than has been done in decades. And that's not because we're gratuitous. Sadly, it's because so many things weren't done for veterans for decades. And now we're meeting those tasks. And I'll just mention a couple of things in particular. There's a long list, and we're proud of the things that we were able to do finally. But looking at the number of new veterans and the healthcare issue, it's expanding rapidly. It's like 500,000 expanding, new veterans for veterans healthcare, seeking that kind of assistance. And I want to tell you that the services we're getting are stronger and stronger for veterans. People want those services. And importantly, with the Deborah Sampson Act, we're making sure those services reflect the new military, where 30% of those new members are women, and 20% of our entire, military force are women. Sadly, we were not meeting our healthcare needs for women. There were prosthetics that were male prosthetics for women. There are healthcare needs directly to women that are necessary. There are childcare needs. Their service-connected needs as they transfer back into civilian life that weren't being met. And now those things are being met, and we're working forward. Probably the thing that our office was getting the most calls on, the most serious calls in terms of veterans, are those veterans, and they're dating back to Vietnam veterans and the Agent Orange issues, the Gulf War toxins that were there, the burn pits that were in the things. It was the effects of these toxins on veterans, and the fact that the effects were obviously connected to their service, but the difficulty they had in making that connection was onerous. And many of them died before they ever got the opportunity to even be considered for those claims. But the PACT Act is one of the most significant things that we have done in decades to address this. And the need is unbelievable because just in a little over a year since that was signed into law, 4.6 million veterans have already been screened. So you get the idea of the magnitude of the exposure that so many of our veterans are now dealing with because of their service to their country and their families dealing with those in terms of care and health care, in terms of financial results. Now that's being met. And it's really being rolled out very quickly. In my district alone, there are almost 2,000 claims already in that period, just my congressional district alone. And we're moving quickly on those claims the vast majority have been processed. People are beginning to move forward and to deal with that. So that and the suicide issue, which we're working on very strongly to make sure that people that are in a crisis with suicide, that are not just in the VA health system, but outside that system, to make sure those needs are being met, regardless whether they're in VA healthcare or not. And I think that was a huge area that we had to do. There's over 9 million people already on the outside of the VA healthcare system that are now taking advantage. And for anyone or any family there, there's online services now, which are, I think, more important in a time of crisis. And there's a hotline, which is 988, and then you select one to have immediate care for veterans in that regard. Let's always remember that crisis exists as well. So as we go forward, and working with our colleagues in the state of Massachusetts, which is the number one, it's already been designated the number one state for providing veterans care, and with my colleague, Senator Moran, and my House colleagues that are here, with the great support of local people in the faith community, like Reverend Fields, and the healthcare systems that are there, which we'll hear from Karen in terms of our resources right here in our region. The good work that's being done. I know that there's a group of veterans out there that are some of the Vietnam veterans in particular that are hitting a certain age. And you know, one of the things that's happening, they're losing spouses, and they're more on their own than they ever have been. And I saw in the Veterans Extension Center in Hyannis, the food pantry there, just how important that population in particular here in the Cape is in need. And so we'll work together on all those fronts. So say thank you today, and in your own lives, if we all know some veteran that's isolated, that might have lost a loved one or their spouse, someone that really needs to be having a little bit of reach out in a neighborly way, if we can all do anything to reach out to those folks who are here, still trying to cope with some of the issues of war, but also deserving of every bit of attention and thanks and gratitude that we can give them in our daily lives. If you can take that extra step, if you know someone that's there, it'd be amazing to see what a knock on the door, what a phone call, what an extended conversation as you talk to might mean. So thank you so much for all of you being here. It's really so much importance attached to it. Our country is different, and we honor our veterans differently than other countries. I remember I worked with finding interred bodies that haven't been home. And we're still doing that, by the way. There's a special segment, bringing home interments of people. Like my own uncle was interred in one country and then brought back. But we did that for another country. And we said, we've got all these people, all these soldiers that you had, and we want to give you that information and provide what's there. And they said, well, no, we don't do that in our country. Well, we do that here. And as we look at today's and tomorrow's official event, let's remember that we wouldn't be here enjoying the luxury of freedom, the luxury of opportunity, a fair fighting chance in life if it wasn't for them. So thank you so much.
As always, thanks, Bill. And it's a great segue into our keynote speaker, the subject of healthcare for veterans. With a bachelor's degree in science in healthcare services management, a master's degree in business administration, a professional military education that included squadron officer school. Hold on a second. A little bit shorter than Bill, not much. I left off at Squadron Officer School, Air Command and Staff College, and Air War College, and having earned major military awards and decorations during a distinguished career, Air Force Colonel Karen Gardner honorably served as the Reserve Forces Medical Advisor to the Air Force Surgeon General in Washington, D.C. as Principal Advisor on Air Force and other reserve matters, analyzing DOD and OSD. OSD, by the way, is the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Policies and implementing congressional mandated initiatives. Colonel Gardner also advocated on behalf of the Air Force Reserve Command in force structure, wartime planning, and unit readiness. The Colonel's extensive list of prior assignments is equally impressive. Today, CEO Karen Gardner, a resident of Falmouth, leads the Community Health Centers of Cape Cod, CHC, in daily fulfilling its founding mission of providing compassionate and affordable health care to all, regardless of their ability to pay. Beginning in the basement of Falmouth Hospital as the Falmouth Free Clinic in 1998, experienced caregivers and staff served approximately 600 patients in its first year of operations. Since 2003, Colonel Gardner has been responsible for all CHC operations and strategic initiatives. Under her guidance, the health center built a 33,000 square foot facility in Mashpee, implemented the electronic medical record system, expanded the continuum of care to include oral health, women's health, 340B pharmacy, vision services, and a full range of support enabling services. By the way, I also know what 340B pharmacy means. Look it up. Over the years, CHC has grown and changed. Its healthcare, wellness service, and special programs, including primary care for veterans, are now provided through care centers in Falmouth, Bourne, Mashpee, Sandwich, and Centerville. This year, CHC celebrates 25 years of fulfilling healthcare needs and supplying wellness services for thousands of children, adults, and families of Cape Cod. Please welcome retired Air Force Colonel Karen Gardner.
Alrighty, take my glasses off so I can see a little bit, but thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that very generous, humbling, a little embarrassing introduction for sure. Oh my goodness. And Congressman, thank you for your words. It's so wonderful to hear everything that's currently going on within the midst of all the struggles that we're certainly seeing. And Senator Moran, obviously, your support in the community health center world, in the substance use disorder world, everything has just been amazing. And I also want to thank Reverend Nell for introducing me here this morning to the group for sure, and for all you've done for our community. I was so sad to have missed the celebration for Citizen of the Year. Just an amazing contributor, leader in our community, and it's been wonderful for our health center to work with your organization and your church in delivering food and other enabling services to our community. I'll start, of course, by thanking all the families and the extended families and friends of everyone who has served. Your sacrifice has given so much for our nation, especially our Gold Star families, for sure. I know all too well the sacrifices that we all have made, and within our families, within individuals, it's just never been a super easy road all the time. And of course, to all of my fellow veterans, I'm so deeply humbled and honored to be with you here today. Thank you for everything that you've given in the name of freedom, for sure. Yay. Congratulations, everyone. It's been, as I've worked the room a little bit this morning, it's been wonderful to kind of get to know you all a little bit. This room represents, and I don't have to tell anyone, an incredible range and diversity of experience and backgrounds and talents and contributions. And yet, I know that you would all agree we have so much in common. No matter what the branch of service, our sense of duty, our core values have always defined us. While the core values might be slightly different based on our branch of service and our time, I know that we share these intrinsic values that bond us as family, no matter where we've been, where we've served, and what time we've served. In the Air Force core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do aren't just words. They have been, as I know others, our 24/7 way of life for sure. That inner sense of duty has always guided us. I know I'm sort of speaking for everyone, sort of guided us no matter what our career fields, in peacetime and in wartime, always. For me, as you heard a little bit too much of, my career was the Air Force Medical Service as a Medical Service Corps officer, and we were in that role to provide access to safe, quality care for our servicemen and women. And after serving a couple of tours in active duty medical treatment facilities, I was introduced to the world of aeromedical evacuation. And I don't know if we have any aeromedical evacuation veterans here with us, but thank you especially for your service. We were responsible for moving casualties, as you may know, by air transport from the field in between medical treatment facilities. And I, like many of you, have always been humbled and inspired by the medics who really made it their life to get injured veterans, injured servicemen and women from the battlefield to definitive care and really saving countless lives in no matter what the scenario. Aeromedical evacuation, again, I don't need to tell you, has a very long history, and we learned so many lessons that helped us get to some of the services that we're providing today. But so many lessons from World War II, from Vietnam, from the many conflicts and humanitarian missions in between. My personal experience started in the 80s during the Gulf War and Desert Storm. And by that time, we had learned so much about battlefield injuries and technology, investments in training and flight medicine. And as I mentioned, technology were changing and growing very exponentially. During that time, we became experts in setting up field hospitals and transporting patients to definitive care. For the first time during that time of service, medical treatment facilities could be fully functional within a matter of 5 days and hold up to 250 hospital beds. Just huge for us at that time. And then the time from injury to care was just continuously improving along with mortality rates. In the years following, a medical service, just like our line counterparts, we became lighter and leaner as a military and as a medical service. And it was really based on where battles were fought and the injuries that we were seeing. We became skilled in utilizing the combined strengths of our services, Army and Air Force, and certainly the Navy and Marines, and moving and transporting patients to field hospitals quicker than ever before. And in my experience, even providing mobile ICU care in the air, which was just amazing. Years later, I served as the commander and administrator of the 439th Aeromedical Staging Squadron at Westover Air Reserve Base. And that was about the time of 9/11. And in a matter of days, maybe months, we quickly deployed and set up a field hospital in the base gym at Ramstein to accept individuals that were injured from the field and get them back to the States for definitive care. And we staffed that hospital for the next 9 months. And again, once again, learned so much about care of injured servicemen. And some of those technologies I know we are the benefactors of in our civilian healthcare world. But these improvements, along with a focus on health prevention and wellness and readiness, improved the time from injury from the battlefield from what we saw in the Vietnam area from about 45 days to less than 36 hours. And sometimes we were able to get people back within 3 hours, just amazing. And in the air, less than a 1% mortality rate was, again, just truly phenomenal. But as a medical service, as a military, as a nation, we must continue to remain agile. All the things that we heard about what is going on in our world, the current conflicts, the pandemics, the challenges of today, it'll continue to test our resolve for sure and our collective strength. However, we do have those core values, that united vision, the hard work that is being done in our country, in Massachusetts, all with that foundational belief of freedom. This will help us meet the challenges going forward. We'll continue to develop new technologies and equipment and advances and innovation. I feel very positive about where we are as a healthcare military service and civilian service. I did retire from the Air Force 3 years ago, from the Air Force Reserve. And today, as Jay mentioned, I serve as the CEO of the Community Health Center of Cape Cod. I've been there. I have a couple of health center members with me. I've been there for about 20 years, and same thing, evolved and changed to meet the needs of our community and certainly to meet the needs of our veterans. I'm proud to say that we do serve 1 in 5 residents of the Falmouth and the Upper Cape community, which is, as I think about the basement of Falmouth Hospital and that start, we've really come a long way in terms of what the need is in the community and growing with the programs and services to meet those needs. I am proud that we serve about 1,000 veterans and family members throughout their system. Those numbers are certainly growing all of the time. I'm not going to talk a lot about the health center today, but I will be here, and I invite everyone to really voice what you're seeing, what the needs, what do you think the gaps in services. Our whole purpose in life as a federally qualified community health center is to do what we can for everyone, regardless of ability to pay, improve healthcare services, and do it grounded in the needs of the community. So it's so important for me to hear what those needs are always. So I know we want to spend a little bit more time together. I'm just going to conclude my remarks now. But certainly on behalf of all of the dedicated individuals, particularly in my world, the healthcare professionals that I've served with, that I continue to serve with, I thank you so much for your support and for your service. And as other people have said before me, our nation does continue to draw strength from those that have served in the past and those that are serving today, as has been mentioned. And we'll continue to grow our strength from those who serve tomorrow. Certainly, God bless everyone. God bless the USA.
I know some of our veterans are eager to move on, and I want to give them a chance to do so. If anybody has to leave right now, this would be a good time to stretch your legs and before I bring our last speaker up. That's perfectly all right. I saw you in the corner. You were great. Thanks for coming. We'll be finishing up very shortly. Thank you, Karen. Finally, in these closing moments, I've asked State Senator Susan Moran to share some final thoughts. After that, I'm going to be saying a bunch of thank yous and letting you go home. Take that nap. Susan?
Wow, you know, this is one of my favorite events every year. Normally, I talk a lot about my dad. You can always expect that. But I just really want to tell you how much of an honor it is to stand before you, heroes and patriots. And I want to express my profound gratitude to each and every one of you for your service to our great nation. Today is a day to celebrate both those still among us and those who have since passed, like my dad. We honor the legacy by reminding each other what makes our communities worth fighting for. And I'm incredibly touched with all of your tables and the one that I'm sitting at. Bill Keating's words, in addition to all of that, every day he's fighting for us locally. I mean, it's really incredible, the amount of heft that we have to move issues forward. Yesterday, I saw Mike Kasparian first thing in the morning when I was with Secretary Augustus, the housing secretary, right here in Falmouth. I don't know, we started probably about 8 a.m. I went from there to a meeting with John Scanlon, who lots of you know from building the library and helping out with that with respect to veterans housing. The amount of people that participate in moving forward our responsibility to give back to veterans, and as has been said before me, the need continues, although the services are growing. At the end of the day, I was met with Mike Duffany, and he sent 3 of his employees to this event, even though it was a work day. And the lieutenant governor was speaking at that event where Mike was actually becoming the head of the Home Builders Association, and just really talking about community and everything that's important there. And that just brings me to talk for a second, not only about what it takes to put this together. We've Mark Bogosian, terrific, of course, Sam and Judy LaRusso, always here, the Falmouth Chamber here, but Jay Zavala, I've got to mention, I mean, talk about Citizens of the Year, the tremendous amount it takes to put this event together so beautifully, so eloquently, so honestly, a veteran himself, and really how seamlessly dealing with day-by-day issues and still coming to give to us. So just a quick thanks to Jay. Massachusetts is home to over 300,000 veterans, making up 8.4% of the population here on the Cape. And, I just couldn't, I told you I can't help but speak about my dad. He was a disabled veteran, injured in service, and he's one example of showing that injuries can be both physical, mental, seen, and unseen. And as Congressman Keating stated, we are starting to even pivot more to provide services to those injuries that aren't always so visibly obvious. Over the past year, the legislature has undertaken several significant initiatives to support those who served and who continue to serve. Our commitment to equality extends to this year's budget, which included funding to implement recommendations from the Women's Veterans Study, which was well described by Bill, acknowledging the fastest growing demographic in our veterans population. Furthermore, a historic $500,000 increase for the Massachusetts General Hospital Home Base Program, which aims to expand trauma services for veterans across the state. In August, we broke ground on the new $483 million state-of-the-art Holyoke Veterans Home, providing housing for 234 veterans. This was made possible by the legislature's state bond bill, which allocated $400 million for the project. The Chelsea Veterans Home has also seen improvements, welcoming veterans into its new community living center, a $200 million long-term facility for 154 veterans. Finally, there's an additional $200 million in bonding for the expansion of veterans' housing services across the Commonwealth, as also outlined in the bond bill. Joining the military is the highest form of public service. Our veterans embody this ideal day in and out. We owe our veterans a great debt, not just for their service to our community, but also for their continued work to serve our communities. It's our duty to ensure that they have access to resources that will enrich their lives and subsequently our communities. And I can't think of a better example than that right here. Thank you for the honor to speak with you.
Well, thank you for your forbearance. We're at the end of our program. It's time for me to say thank you. First, thank you to you for showing up, for being here, for being a part of this, for listening to all of our speakers. I have a reason to say thank you. My wife and I moved here in 2000 from New Orleans, Louisiana. It's the smartest thing I've ever done. Really is. This is a fabulous town. I have friends like Gary Soares. He's a retired Marine Corps veteran. Jack Williams, a retired Army veteran. Just a whole bunch of folks. Just wanted to get that off my chest. So I'm going to lower my head again because I got these notes. As Susan said, thank you, Mark, Sam and Judy for their generosity, the Chamber, Michael Kasparian, Tyler Hayes and the restaurant staff. They deserve a round of applause. All of the speakers that I invited said yes, immediately, yes, they would be here. Thank you to them as well. There's one last person that I want to thank, and that's my sidekick, Navy veteran Mort Cohan. He probably greeted most of you as you came in the door. And finally, I have to thank my wife, Susan, for taking photographs and for getting me here this morning. Now, don't forget, I promised to do this. Remember to turn your telephones back on. Yeah. Yes, we senior citizens don't forget. Okay, until next year. God bless you. God bless America. Good night.